with a tape measure. Oh, and my cousins and I, forget it. We do not get along. My sister-in-law discovered this during one of our family reunions. She tried to help us interact, God bless her. She suggested we play paper telephone, which is just like regular telephone, but instead of whispering, you write down a phrase, and then the next person draws it, and then the next person tries to guess what the phrase was by what was drawn. So I thought this was a great idea. I thought, oh, she's so inspiring. I'm gonna try. So I wrote, the cow jumped over the moon, only to land in a cow pie. And I passed it on. And then I took my cousins that Percy wrote, and he wrote, we have ascertained proximity from the personification of redundant axioms. And I'm sitting there with my pencil, ready to draw. And we never played the game again. Now, normally I would just let it go. This is the status quo. We don't get along. We're adults. That's fine. But I wanted to impress my future sister-in-law. I didn't want her to know she was marrying into a family of lame relations until after the wedding. So I came up with a plan. At the next family reunion, I pulled out the childhood board games we had enjoyed playing together when we were young and still got along. And the nostalgia worked. People saw them, they were so excited. They said, let's play the game of life. That was a great idea. And from the first spin of the wheel, the nostalgia started to sound. We were playing an older version, and let's say it has some problems. For one thing, it says $40,000 for college, regardless of whether you're becoming an accountant or a doctor. And then my cousin Percy got the $100,000 salary straight out of college, which sparked a wonderful debate about politics and the minimum wage. We managed to get past that, but then I landed on the square that requires you to get married, which I was not ready for. I was focusing on my career as a travel agent, only making $20,000 a year. I didn't save anything for retirement, and no, Percy, I won't come down. And yes, Amy, I know all the models in the box are white. Let's just call it the game of lies and get it done. So the game of life was a letdown, just like in real life. And yet, that little bit of nostalgia at the beginning got me thinking, what happened to those children who would play together during the family reunions? I mean, we were still different people when we were young. We had different interests, different values, different beliefs. And yet, we managed to have fun. What changed? Why? Now, I can't speak for my cousins, but I know when I was a child, I got along with my cousins at these family reunions because my parents made me. I knew going into that reunion that if I was not gracious and polite and on my best behavior, I would be grounded for the next week. So I went into these things with the attitude of, just make it work, Sarah. And I thought about that attitude, that just make it work attitude, and that childhood gumption, and thought, how different would those first two games have gone if I had approached them that way? I didn't have to react that way to Percy's stupid little comment because he thought he was so much better than silly party games. I could have ignored him. I could have laughed at him. I could have tried flattering him. I could have drawn a little brain and a pair of pants and called him a smart pants. Or what about for the game of life? We didn't have to follow the rules. We could have gone to permanent marker and adjusted for inflation on all of those prices. I thought, no, I'm deciding to make the best of it. So for the next family reunion, I pulled out a game called Bang. It's a bit like Mafia, except there's sheriffs and outlaws, and yes, your goal is to kill each other. And it's also so complicated. It was new to all of us, so it was an even footing. You had action card, passive cards, characters with special unique abilities, and enemies, allies, and anarchists, and you don't know who is who. It was a complete and total mess. No one knew what was going on. It was utter chaos, and yet I had a blast. And sure, Percy still made his little comments at first, but I finally just gave him the rule book to be in charge of, and he was suddenly happy as a clam. And then I really take pride in this, but I set a certain tone for that game because I couldn't stop laughing every time one cousin had to bang another one. And then my brother started reading the Italian instructions, because of course it was in Italian as well as English, to make it a more authentic spaghetti western. And then my sister-in-law got into character as her game character, Calamity Janet, and it was all just kind of downhill in a wheelbarrow after that. Bang is now a family favorite. Sometimes my cousins and I even voluntarily go out for dinner together. And as I sit there eating with them and having a great time and hearing more about their lives, I can't help but think, wow, what a difference simply changing my attitude made. Simply walking into this and remembering that the secret to getting along is deciding to get along suddenly reconnected me with my cousins. So the next time you're in a difficult social situation, just try changing your attitude. Because if escape is not an option, you might as well make the best of it. Madam Toastmaster.